I've always liked Mario sports games, but Mario Strikers Charge is the only one that took things to the next level in my opinion. Almost everything about it works so well. The characters are crude, the gameplay is fast, the items are frantic, the skill shots are crazy. It is all wrapped into a fun package that is extremely fun with others. Let's tackle Mario Strikers Charge for the Wii. Can we start with this opening movie right here? It is just so good. We all know the sport of soccer, right? Just imagine soccer except with Mario characters and it's not boring as hell to watch or play. Every team has one captain and 3 sidekicks. Critter from Donkey Kong Country will also be the goalie for every team. Picking the right character is important because the characters have different stats, hitting techniques, and deeks. In addition to this, the sidekicks all have different skill shots when their shot is charged enough, and the captains will have a special unique item to them. Let's get to the captains first. Mario is a standard no-nonsense character that you would expect him to be. Every stat is average and he has a normal deek too. His captain ability will make him grow big. In this form, he is difficult to hit. Only well-timed slide tackles and items will knock him down. Luigi is very similar. He has well-rounded stats and has the same captain ability as Mario. Peach is a speedy character that uses cameras to trap her opponents in pictures. Kinda terrifying, to be honest. Daisy is a speedy captain like Peach, but her deek will have her teleport. The more powerful the ball is, the farther Daisy will go. Her special item gives her the ability to smash the ground, hitting nearby enemies with crystals. My main man Yoshi is a balanced character like Mario and Luigi, except his tackle is a tongue slap thing. His captain ability will allow him to go inside of a giant Yoshi egg, which will allow him to crush enemies. Wario is a slow piece of garbage, but he has an insanely strong shot. His deek will have him yell, which will hurt enemies if they get too close. His captain ability will have him rip ass all over the battlefield, which will confuse opponents. While Luigi is another speedy captain, who has a deek very similar to Daisy's. His special has him poop out vines. Not sure where this comes from or what it is. These vines can be used to speed up Waluigi and block out enemies. Also, yes, he crotch chops, and it may be the best thing about this game. Donkey Kong is a slow powerhouse like Wario, with a deek that hurts opponents, but his special is more so like Daisy's. He slams the ground, which will hurt players near him. It also comes with a cool effect of tilting the screen. I like dumb shit like that. Bowser is another slow but powerful captain, but his ability is so much similar to Wario's. He breathes fire, which will make anyone that touches it unplayable for a while. These are all the captains available from the get-go, but between captain abilities, their stats, deeks, and tackles, even characters that seem similar to Vert's glance, they can end up playing very differently. 3 unlockable characters are in tow: Bowser Jr., Diddy Kong, and Petey Piranha. Bowser Jr. is similar to the other slow characters, except his special ability is an ear-piercing screech that for whatever reason shrinks opposing players. When these players are small, they run much slower and their shots are much weaker. Diddy Kong is a speedy character that could straight up remove characters from the game for a little while with his red card ability. Petey Piranha is one of the slower characters, but his Mudslinger ability may be one of the best in the game. This will have Petey shoot mall balls out of his mouth. They will either hit the ground or knock over opposing characters. Both items and other players will be slowed down by the mud. This can help Petey get off his Megastrike. Speaking of which, the discussion of Megastrikes ruining Mario Strikers Charge is a huge debate among the Mario Strikers community. It's a shame because, for the most part, this game is a direct upgrade over the original Strikers, but many prefer the original just because of this one addition. I get it. There's nothing more frustrating than losing the game that you were dominating in the last few seconds because your opponent gets off some BS Megastrike. You see, the way to activate a Megastrike is to get your captain free to charge the ball. After charging the ball for long enough, the player will have to time their button press to see how many metallic balls they shoot at the opposing critter, and at what speed. They can shoot up to 6 shots at them, and the orange zone is the most difficult color zone to stop. A lot of the captain abilities have the AoE effect that stuns or knocks over enemies, so these are typically used to try to get one of these off. Now, the way to block these... oh dear. The player has to use the IR pointer on the Wii and hit A over the metallic ball to destroy it. When it works, it's fine, I guess, but there are times when the precision of the Wii isn't quite up to par, which can result in several frustrating goals. Not just that, some say that this boils down the gameplay to get the ball to captain, Megastrikes inbound. It sucks because the other additions such as more in-depth stats, better sidekick management, captain specials, and sidekick skill shots are neat additions to the gameplay. Speaking of which... sidekicks comprise the rest of the team. Each team has 3 sidekicks and they are allowed to have multiple of one if they wish. They have their own stats as the captains do, but they can prefer Megastrikes. In the original Mario Strikers, the teams were forced to have 3 of the same sidekick, which I think is extremely lame. I think that is one of the best changes to Charge, especially now that they all have their unique skill shots, stats, deeks, and checks. It's so much fun to mix and match them, trying to find that perfect balance of offense and defense. Hammer Bro is a slower sidekick that has amazingly strong shooting and passing abilities. His deek is awesome. It has him jumping up in the air and dropping a giant hammer underneath him. His skill shot will have him chucking hammers at Critter, then firing the ball. He needs to be pretty close, which can be tough with his horrible speed, but it's a guaranteed goal if he can get close enough. Toad is a speedy little shit that jumps over opponents with his deek. His skill shot will have him set the ball on fire, which can hit other players or Critter. When Critter is on fire, he will make saves less often. Koopa is a well-rounded character, with a cool little shell dash as his deke. His skill shot will create a giant shell that will stun Critter. The ball will go flying in a random direction, hopefully toward one of his teammates so they can capitalize on the stunned goalie. Birdo's a slow powerhouse with insane shooting skills as well as an insane check that will go several feet. Like most power characters, her deke will have her hurt opponents rather than progress her through the field. Her skill shot can be tricky to use. It will turn the ball into a giant egg, which will crush Critter and give her an automatic goal. However, other players can easily get in the way of the egg, which will destroy it and block it for their goalie. It also takes the longest to charge. Combine that with Birdo's abysmal speed, and it makes the skill shot very hard to use effectively. Boo is another speedy sidekick that will briefly turn invisible with his deke. His skill shot will need to be taken near Critter for it to go in. It's tricky to get off because Critter can be aggressive and knock Boo away, but if the player has the space and angle right, it's a sure goal. Dry Bones is a defensive specialist. This is because his check goes far, as well as having insane speed. His deke will have him teleport similar to Daisy and Waluigi, and it'll depend on the power of the ball. His skill shot is called Shocker, and it will stun Critter, and the ball will rebound back to Dry Bones. Sometimes this won't work though, as Dry Bones might get decked after the initial shot, or sometimes Dry Bones will shoot it right into the immobile goalie after the initial shot. But I still think it's one of the better skill shots in the game with its versatility. Monte Mole has insane hitting and shooting abilities. Both his deke and skill shot have him going underground. Like with Hammer Bro, Monte Mole needs to be somewhat close, which can be a tall order with his abysmal speed. If the player can find that sweet spot though, it's an automatic goal. Last in line is Shy Guy, who's a balanced sidekick. His deke is standard as of all of his stats. His Bullet Bill skill shot is a lot of fun. He hitches a ride on a Bullet Bill and heads right for Critter. Everyone close to the blast gets knocked down, but Shy Guy recovers a bit quicker to try to get the ball first. Even sidekicks and captains that seem similar at a first glance have a difference or two that could change games. Like Monte Mole and Hammer Bro are both slow sidekicks with similar skill shots, but Hammer Bro has better passing abilities and a better deke, which can make getting the skill shot off easier for him. Meanwhile, Monte Mole has far superior checking ability. Mario and Yoshi are both well-rounded captains, but Yoshi's egg roll has different nuances that debatably make it worse than Mario's Super Mario ability. Mario's moveset is fully intact while he is giant. Meanwhile, Yoshi can only roll around in his egg. Yoshi has a better check and deke to balance that out though. Before we move on to more gameplay stuff, I really want to take a second and appreciate Next Level Games' attention to detail here. All captains and sidekick have their own unique theme song when they score, which is awesome. All characters have several unique animations when they score. All captains have animations that will sometimes play when the opponent scores on them. Wario and DK, for example, they will take their anger out on their teammates or even themselves. Even Critter gets in on this action. Sometimes when a Megastrike goal goes in, he will take the ball and chuck it at one of the sidekicks. It seems like modern Mario sports games take this stuff for granted and just don't even try. This game gets a lot of brownie points for me for doing fun stuff like this. Or how about the holograms at the start of the match? They all have like taunting animations, like Yoshi sticks out his tongue at his opponent. It's just so good. Okay though, enough about the characters, otherwise I'll be here all day. I'll be here for hours. Let's get into the general gameplay of Striker's Charge. Overall, Mario Striker's Charge controls very well. Using the Wii Remote and Nunchuck together for a game like this feels so natural. The player can move their character with a thumbstick on the Nunchuck. They can pass and change characters with the giant A button, which will power up the ball, while they can shoot or dump the ball with the B button on the back. They can deke with the directional button while they have the ball, or slide tackle if they want the ball. A slide tackle can be used to take ball possession from an opponent, which will leave them stunned. Speaking of being stunned, the player can hit the opponents by shaking the Wii Remote, which always felt responsive and good to do. The game can be paused with the 1 button. For some reason. I never understood why plus wasn't used. The Z button can be used on the nunchuck to chip the ball ahead. The C button can be pressed to use items, and the flick of the nunchuck will change which one will be used first, which that always felt good to use as well. Speaking of items, there are roughly 14, not including the captain specials, which I've spent a decent amount of time covering already. An item will be awarded if the player has taken a charge shot, but not a Megastrike or skill shot. An item will also be awarded if the opponent hits a player on the opposite team if they don't have the ball. I like this as it incentivizes to only hit opponents who don't have the ball when necessary. 2 items can be stored at a time, and as mentioned above, a flick of the nunchuck will change what item will be used first. There are 4 shell variants, and each one come in 1 giant shell or 3 smaller shells. Red shells will target opponents, green shells are the standard no-nonsense shells, while spike shells are more durable and can bounce off the walls more times before breaking. There are also frozen shells, which will freeze opponents in place. Banana peels appear in sets of 3, 5, and 1 singular giant banana. These are akin to landmines. If the player touches them, they will fall over. But bombs come in sets of 5, 3, and 1 singular giant one again. When these are deployed, they will target the player with the ball. The last offensive item is the Chain Chomp, which will go apeshit and bite the opponents. It's easy for the Chain Chomp to attack the user while it's trying to get to the opponents though. There are 2 additional items that are considered more defensive. The Mushroom will boost the user's speed to insane heights. It can be used for offensive reasons too, like speeding to an opening to use a Megastrike or skill shot. The last item is the Star, which will make the user invincible. This can be used to try to get a 6-ball Megastrike, but it won't last long enough. The user will have to use it while they are already charging it. It has other uses obviously, but this is probably the way that I've seen it used the most. I love the items in this game as it adds flair to gameplay that we don't see in other soccer video games. There are 10 new stages in Mario Strikers Charge, as well as all of the 7 stages in the original Super Mario Strikers. Some of the newer stages will have their gimmicks, and all of the classic stages all have the electrical fence that one can check their opponents into. The only 3 basic new stages are the Vice, the Classroom, and Galactic Stadium, for a total of 10 basic no-nonsense stages and 7 gimmicky stages, which I think strikes a good balance. Some of the gimmicky stages include Thunder Island will have objects flying all over the maps in a wicked storm. If these objects hit any of the characters on the field, they will fly off the side as there is no electrical fences on this stage. If characters get too careless or walk near the edge, they will fall off as well and miss part of the match. The Sand Tomb is by far the worst map in my opinion. Players go slow in the sand and whomps will come from the air to crush players. According to the Mario Wiki, if a whomp crushes a player while they have the ball, the opposite team will be awarded a goal. That has never happened to me. Anyway, I don't like this map because it's hard to do anything here. I don't appreciate the sand gimmick as it's hard to get skill shots off. It feels like you're just confined to the middle of the map with how slow the characters move in the sand. The lava pit will have lava balls hurled toward the stage. If a character touches it, they will be engulfed in flames and run around the stage randomly, like with Bowser's special. If the ball hits the lava, it will get shot in a random direction, as well as get charged fully. This can be unlocked by beating Bowser Jr. in the finals of the Fire Cup, which will also unlock Bowser Jr. as a playable captain. That's about it for this one. It still has the electrical fences at least. The Wastelands has a slippery surface because of snowfall. Every so often the screen will flash. A few seconds after this happens, lightning will crash down and hit the metallic ball. It will create a decent-sized lightning circle that will stun anyone that comes in its radius. This also includes Critter, so it can be used to get some cheap goals. I like this one. It has a decent gimmick, but it's not too annoying like the Sand Pit. This is unlocked by earning the Brick Wall Award and the Golden Foot Award in the Fire Cup. The Crystal Canyon will straight up eliminate a player or 2 on both teams at the beginning of the match and after every goal is scored. The beams of light can hit both sidekicks and captains. If a captain gets hit, the opposing captain will also get sent to the Shadow Realm. This makes sense, as one can consider it unfair if only one team can get a Megastrike off. Too gimmicky in my opinion, never was a fan of this one. It is unlocked by beating Diddy Kong in Crystal Cup's finals, which also unlocked Diddy Kong as a playable captain. The dump has some mud. And that's about it. The players move a bit slowly here, as well as the ball. This only happens in the center of the stage though, so it's not as annoying as the Sand Pit. It is unlocked by earning the Brick Wall Award and the Golden Foot Award in the Crystal Cup. The Stormship Stadium has electricity and tilting. Occasionally, lightning will strike the center of the platform, which will follow several small silts in the ground. Regarding the tilting, the stage tilts on the side with more players on it. It is unlocked by beating Petey Piranha in the Striker Cup finals, which also unlocks his Glorious Beast as a playable captain. Just look at him, he is so cool. We end off at the Galactic Stadium. Surely it's the final stage with the hardest unlock conditions. This must have an insane gimmick that makes it stand out. Here it is. It has an electric fence. It is unlocked by earning the Brick Wall Award and Golden Foot Award in the Striker Cup, which is the hardest and longest cup, so you'd think there'd be a bit more to this one. But no, it's another generic stage with an electrical fence. Kind of a bummer. Speaking of the cups, Mario Strikers Charge has a decent campaignish mode. All that it involves is picking your team and participating in 3 cups. There are 2 difficulty modes, normal and extreme. Or should I say normal and bullshit! Extreme is ridiculously hard. My brother and I battled all the way to the final elimination round of the Strikers Cup just for DK to score stupid ass goals that Critter should have had. Because of this, we had to restart the whole Striker Cup. I stood up and said no, and we pussed out and changed it to normal mode. Look at the goal difference now. The difference between this is just absurd. Normal mode will start out extremely easy, then get harder as you go along. The extreme mode takes the hardest CPU difficulty and applies it to all 3 cups. The cups are pretty basic as they can all be described as such. The Fire Cup consists of 4 teams that play 6 qualifying rounds, each playing each other twice. 2 teams advance to 1 final, 3-game series with defending champion Bowser Jr. The Crystal Cup has 6 teams that play 10 qualifying rounds, each playing each other twice. 4 teams advance to 2 semifinals and 1 final, 3-game series with defending champion Diddy Kong. The Striker Cup has 10 teams that play 9 qualifying rounds, each playing each other once. 8 teams advance to the quarterfinals, 2 semifinals and 1 final, 3-game game series with defending champion PD Piranha. After defeating each cup's champion, a cutscene will display the player's team obtaining the trophy. In the unlocks of the stages, I mentioned the Golden Foot and the Brick Wall awards. To win these, the player's team must score the most amount of goals in the qualifying games for the former, and let in the least amount of goals in the qualifying games for the latter. These are no joke in extreme mode, let me tell you. My brother and I failed to get them all in the Crystal Cup, for example, and that's not even the final cup. These are much more doable in normal mode, some would say too easy probably. Even though it's pretty basic, it's a nice thing for the player to go through and knock out and unlock some characters. If the Road to Striker Cup wasn't here, I probably would think much less of the game overall, to be honest. That's not all. Challengers are here with 12 in tow, one for each captain. The difficulty ranges from novice to mega striker, and these get brutal. On top of supplying a decent challenge, completing these will also unlock additional options in the versus mode. All of them will give a story behind the events, and the Wink Edition changes constantly. Let's quickly run through them all. Till Sudden Death Do Us Part has the player controlling Mario's team. The player has to score a goal on DK before he does on the Vice stage. Winning this will unlock the classic mode option, will also disable Megastrike and skill shots in versus matches. Sibling Rivalry will have the player controlling Luigi's team. He faces off against Mario on the Wasteland stage, and for whatever reason, he is down a player and by 2 goals. Winning this will unlock the safe Megastrike, which will protect the captain after they initiate their Megastrike. This means that only Critter can save the Megastrike shots once it's initiated. This Monkey Shines will have DK down by 3 goals. It's up to the player to come back and defeat PD Piranha in the Stormship Stadium stage. Winning this will unlock the Super Captain's ability, which will only hand out super ability items. A stunning situation will have Wario's goalie easily stunned as he took too many Mega Strikes to the head. Even with this problem, Wario is to beat Diddy Kong on the underground stage to win. Doing so unlocks the no power-ups option, which will remove all power-up items from the versus games. 3 goals away is where the challenges start getting difficult. This one has Waluigi tied with Luigi on the Thunder Island stage, but the player has 50 seconds to score 3 goals. Luigi has 2 wicked fast dry bones on his team. This makes it difficult to get a Mega Strike off. With that time limit, it's the best way to try to win. Winning this will unlock the Secure Stadium option, which will turn off all stadium events. Every stage will play very similarly if this is turned on. So far behind, maybe the hardest one in the entire game. Yoshi's down by 5 goals and he has to play against Wario and 3 dry bones on the Sand Tomb. On top of that, Yoshi has only 1 minute and 8 seconds to complete this feat. To make matters worse, his Critter is pretty competent and will save a lot of Megastrike shots sent his way. This took my brother and I several tries. The power shortage option will disable the electrical fences in versus mode. Zero Tolerance will have Bowser trying to get a shutout against Peach on the Conga Coliseum stage. There's not much more to this one. The Field Tilt option will have the stage slant towards the player who is losing. The greater the score difference, the more the stage slants. Tag Team Tussle will have PD Piranha and Monte Mole face off against Donkey Kong and Toad as the rest of their teams have taken a beating. This challenge takes place on the Pipeline Central stage. The always white ball option will ensure that the ball is always white. This means that it is at max power when it is shot. Now we get to the 2 Mega Striker challenges, which are 2 of the hardest challenges in the game, if you exclude Yoshi's. Against all odds, we'll have Bowser Jr. face off against Bowser on the Battle Dome stage, but Bowser Jr. is at a major disadvantage here. He can't obtain items due to him cheating earlier in the tournament. The CPU must be aware of this because Bowser will throttle you constantly with no consequences. This made me realize how helpful items are to this game. It is absolutely game-breaking when only one player receives them. All that Bowser Jr. has to do is beat Bowser, but it is a tall order. For beating this, the player unlocks the always skill shot option, which will make all the Sidekicks shots skill shots in versus mode. We finally get to Lucky 7, which has Diddy Kong trying to get 7 goals on Yoshi's team. To make matters worse, the 2 teams face off against each other on the Crystal Canyon stage, which will remove players. Getting Megastrays off is your best bet here, but Dry Bones and Shy Guy have decent skill shots too. Diddy Kong has to win and get 7 goals, not win with a lead of 7 goals. So the player can always score 4 goals or so, then let Yoshi catch up and then win in sudden death. The reward for completing this challenge is the custom power-up option, which allows players to modify the items that are obtained during gameplay. The player can change it to all shells, all bananas, all bombs. They can also turn on an option to continuously award the player items. It gets pretty hectic. All the challenges took my brother and I roughly an hour and a half. However, these are not slouches, as my brother and I have been playing this game for a decade or so. For newcomers, these will take forever. I remember Yoshi's challenge taking us literal days to complete when we were kids. I like how all the captures and sidekicks are in the challenge. It allows you to try them all out in small chunks. Strikers 101 is exactly what it sounds like. There are 10 tutorial missions here and they are great for newcomers. If one is just getting into this game now for whatever reason, this is an amazing first stop. It goes over all the basic controls, how captain items are different from one another, how Megastrikes work, how sidekicks skill shots are different from one another, how to charge the ball to white, how to use and obtain items. Since these get marked as complete and I'm a completionist nerd, I felt the need to complete them all, and it took roughly 30 minutes total. For veterans and returning players, there's not much here. Though one could argue, it's not here for us losers, it's for the newcomers. The Hall of Fame is a spot where players can see trophies that they have obtained. If they won the Golden Foot or Brick Wall, it will show the amount of goals they scored in the cup for the former, and the goals against for the latter. The Hall of Fame will also display the character cards for all the captains. They can be obtained by beating their challenges, and they also have a description of what their options become available after obtaining their card. That's about it here. There are also exhibition matches that one can hop into. This is one of the first Nintendo games with Nintendo Wi-Fi connection, which is neat, but now, sadly, also irrelevant. So what are some negatives about the game? The one I mentioned earlier is the whole debate on MegaStrikes. I'm personally in the camp that they make the game worse. I think it would be better off without them, but they are hard to ignore due to their insane scoring potential, so they become super important. Other than that though, I guess one can argue that the Striker Cup can have some kind of... it can be just bullshit at times. I get having a challenge, but why the hell does Donkey Kong score here? He just took a half-ass shot in the middle of the field. Sometimes Critter's just inconsistent. He will dive all around the field making insane saves, and other times he lets stuff like this in. That's Mario Striker's Charge, by far my favorite Mario sports game. It is a game that is filled to the brim with insanely fun gameplay, intense skill shots, chaotic maps, and a lot of character. Next Level Games not only made a fun game, they also packed it to the brim with character, animating several victory and losing animations per character, all with their own musical tracks. The game controls amazingly and it runs and looks great. There are a few difficulty spikes issues in both the challenges and Striker Cup modes, and the Megastrike can be a bit annoying, but Mario Striker's Charge is a winner in my book. I give it a solid 6 out of 7. Hopefully, Battle League can at least touch this game, although I'm pretty doubtful.